Hello everyone, welcome to Kenya Fashion Academy online class. So in this class we're going to be talking about one of the very important things when it comes to garment construction, and that is how to take accurate body measurements. How to take your body measurement accurately. This is the very first step to take when you want to achieve a perfect fit for your garments. Now, when it comes to taking the measurements of the body, we have the vertical measurements. Those are the measurements we take from the shoulder downwards. That's the vertical measurements. Then we have the horizontal measurement, or the circumferential measurements, talking about around the body. So those ones are the horizontal measurements, while the ones that go down the body are the vertical measurements. Now, when you want to take your measurements for your clients, it is very important you find the natural waistline of your clients, because the front length and the back length of every person, it's not the same. Especially, let's just say for every adult, it's not the same because of the presence of the busts. So if you watch the video on the analysis of the human structure, you will understand more what we are talking about. So if you've not watched that video, you can go back to that video so you understand what we're saying. Because of the presence of the bust in the front, the bust tends to protrude at this point, making it to take up more measurement than the back, which is almost flat. So that is why we try to get this. You have to try to get the natural waistline of the person and tie your rope firmly before you continue with your measurement. So how do you get it? You can tell your client to stand akimbo. Let your client stand akimbo comfortably. Tell the client to tilt to one side. So as the person is tilting, you will see this place going inwards. You see this place going inwards. Her own is very obvious. You can see it's going inwards. So at this point, you quickly tie your rope around that point and tie it firmly. Now, when you tie this, another thing you will do, you try to make sure you adjust it. Now, this natural waistline, in case you are still confused on how to get about it, usually about 2.5 to 3 inches from your belly button, from your navel, 2.5 to 3 inches. So anywhere around that point, you can try to position your rope very well. But first of all, tell your client to stand akimbo and tilt to one side. Now, the next place we want to tie around is also our armhole area. Take a piece of bias or strip of fabric or anything and tie around the armhole just like I have done. This will also help you to get your accurate shoulder measurement. You can see it. See where this line, if you were to wear a fitted dress, you will see it. You see, even as it is like this, you can see how it is going. Just take it off. You can also tell your client to, tilt up. There's a bone, there's a hole here. As she raised her hand, there's a hole here. At that point, that is where your shoulder measurement is, both here or here. Tie it firmly. Now, this shoulder measurement is very, very important, because if you fail to get this measurement correctly, especially when it is shorting, it is going to affect the balance of the outfit on the shoulder. I don't know if you may have experienced it as a beginner in sewing or in garment making. You discover that sometimes when you do not take the shoulder measurement accurately, it tends to hang. This place will not relax, and it will also affect the neckline. Neckline will tend to bulge, like it won't relax. It will not be relaxed. So it's very, very important. And I would like to mention that instead of you to make mistake and take a shoulder measurement that is shortened, please, it is better it is slightly more. It is better it is slightly more than it for it to be shortened, because once it is shortened, there is nothing you can do about it. The only solution to a shortened shoulder outfit is for you to do a free sleeve, or if it is sleeveless, fine. Normally, if it is sleeveless, you even tend to go in maybe 1 inch from your accurate shoulder measurement. But if it has sleeve, once the shoulder shortens, when you fit a basic sleeve, a fitted sleeve, it is going to be obvious, going to tell on the fit of the dress. So the only solution to that kind of garment is to fix a sleeve, a puff sleeve, a flare sleeve, any sleeve that is free, that has ease, that has allowance, that that will allow for free movement. You can use such sleeve. Once your shoulder is shortened and you fix it, it is going to be very obvious. It will not look fine. So if you are not very sure, please, it's better it is slightly more, so that when you now finish and you measure and you see that it is more, you can now slightly reduce it. I hope we understand that. Now, having said that, we are going to proceed to our measurement taking. Now, immediately you tie this, it is very important you take the measurements that affects what you have tied. What do I mean? Since we have tied this for our shoulder measurement, you quickly measure your shoulder measurement. You quickly measure your half length, that's your front length measurement. You take your back length measurements. You also take your sideways to knee, sideways to floor. Take any measurement that has to do with this rope. Because if you do not do that, in the process of taking your shoulder, taking your cross chest, taking this and that, it might shift. And if you don't remember to adjust it again to sit where it's supposed to sit, it will also affect your measurements. So without much talk, let's go ahead. Now, for us to take our shoulder measurements, having tied this is a guide for you. You put your shoulder at this point and take the second one at this point. You adjust, make sure this is okay. So you put your tape here, and the other one meets this point. Can you see how I placed it? I did not place it like this. I placed it like this, like this. As you can see, her shoulder measurement is 15 inches. Now, I will take her front length. Her front length, you normally start your front length measurement around this area. You place your tape. You allow it to pass on the fullest part of your bust, and then you take your measurements. So for her measurement is around 15.75. Her measurement is around 15.75 or 16. You can approximate it to 16 inches. Now, if you have taken that, you come to the back. So when I take her measurement from here to this point, I am having 15 inches. So that's her back length measurement. So you can see that the front length is bigger than the back length measurement. Now, having taken this, another measurement we are going to quickly take is our across back measurement. And that measurement is usually around 5 inches or 6 inches down from your nape here. So you take it around this point. So you can see that her across chest is giving around 14.5 inches. So her across back is giving around 14.5 inches. So if you are confused, the across back measurement is usually at the midpoint of your armhole. For your armhole, the midpoint, the center of it. So you measure like this. Hers is around 15 inches. Okay, so hers is around 14.5 inches. Now, we turn to the front. You measure your across chest. Now, your across chest, you come down a few inches or around the midpoint of your armhole and take your across chest measurement. So her across chest measurement is around 13. It's around 13 inches for her across chest measurement. Now, having said that, we are going to quickly take other measurements that has to do with this half length or this front length. And those measurements are your sideways to knee. You take it like this to the knee length. This is her knee, this place. That's her natural knee length. So this is about 24 or 23.5 inches. Then you also take your waist to ankle measurement. Hers is about 40.5, and then waist to the floor. Waist to the floor measurement. And hers is about 42.5 measurement, 0.5 inches. So we have taken the measurements that have to do with waist, that's waist to knee, waist to floor. You can also measure your waist to hip. Your waist to hip measurement is from your waist to the fullest part of your hip. From your waist to the fullest part of your, so if you look at it, you see that this is her fullest, the fullest part of her hip is around this place that her top is ending. See it here, see this part. So it's around 9 inches for her. That's her hip length. So take her hip length. Now after taking her hip length, you're going to measure the bust circumference. At this point, if you want to remove this, you can go ahead and remove it, but you might want to leave it in case if you forgot to take a measurement that will require that. So you take your bust circumference. Your bust circumference is simply around your bust. Now, please, when you note that whenever you are taking your client's measurement, please, it's not ideal to just stand in the front and do it like this. Just stand by one side of it, just stand by the side of your client and take her measurement with one finger inside like this. Don't pack two hands like this when you're taking your circumferential measurements that are around the body measurement. Stand by the right preferably, and then, by the left of your client preferably, and then place your hand inwards like this. So for her bust circumference is 35 inches. I'll measure her waist circumference. Please, before you remove this rope, make sure you take your waist circumference. So the waist circumference for her is 28.5. Now, it depends on what your client wants. If they really want the dress fitted, cinched, the waist cinched, you might need to just tighten it a bit. It depends on the preference of your client. So you may have to ask them, how tight do they want it? Some want it just moderate, some want it more tight. So you take that measurement there. Then you take your hip measurement around the fullest part of your hip. Please don't put it this way. Don't always put it, because here is open. So it's better you take it to the side, so you'll be sure of your measurement. Still putting one of your fingers inside, and then you try to adjust it to be sure of your measurement. Try to adjust it to be sure of your measurement. So for her, I'm having around 38.5. I'm having around 38.5 inches. So you make sure that your tape is moving. Don't just place it at a point and take that measurement. You place it and try to move it up and down. So as you are doing that, you notice that your tape might have to loosen here. So her hip measurement is around 38.5. So that is her hip circumference. Now, another measurement you are also going to be taking is around the knee, the natural knee circumference, like so. So we need this measurement for shaping of the skirt. If you want to do a pencil skirt, the person has to put her two legs together and then take that measurement tightly. Then another measurement we want to take is also our neck circumference. We take our neck circumference, not too tight. There has to be ease. So you place your hand inside, and you can ask your clients whether they are comfortable with how tight it is. So for her, like this, I am having 14.5 inches. So you can use this measurement when you want to make a turtle neckline for the person, or you want to add collar to the neckline. So that is for that. Now, having said that, we'll take other measurements, like from your shoulder to your bust point. From your shoulder to your bust point. Then you don't need to ask your clients where her nipple is, because you can have a first-time customer, even if except it's your own person, your friend, you can ask them, okay, where is your nipple? Or for a client, you don't have to start asking, please, is this your nipple? You can you use your eye to know that you know where the nipple is, or you can try to as you are placing, you can ask the client, this is your nipple area, right? Just use your eye to gauge it. So for her nipple is 10 inches. Then from that point, you measure to the under bust. So her under bust is around 13.5. Now this measurement is very, very important, especially when we want to contour this dress, we want to make bustier and all of that. This measurement is very, very important. So you take your bust, your shoulder to your bust point, then from your shoulder to your under bust. That's what we call under bust length. So your shoulder to your bust, your shoulder to your bust is your bust point, while your shoulder to your under bust is your under bust length. Then another one we'll take is our bust span, which is our nipple to nipple measurement, from one nipple to another. So for her nipple to nipple is around 7.5. Her nipple from one nipple to another nipple is 7.5. Another important measurement is our bust radius, which is from our nipple to our under bust. So, but this measurement, you can easily get it when you have already gotten your shoulder to bust point and your shoulder to under bust. So for you to get your bust radius, which is your bust point to your under bust, you subtract whatever you have from your shoulder to under bust, subtract what you have from shoulder to your bust point. I have written down some calculations to confirm these measurements, and the measurements are still, the calculations are still what you can use when some of these measurements were not taken. Maybe when you are not the person that took the measurements, or you forgot to take the measurements. But it is not a good thing to forget to take your client's measurement. For you not to do that, try to have a measurement booklet, a measurement guide, where you have written out all the measurements parameters, the shoulder, front length, back length, across back, across chest, different measurements, your waist circumference. You make sure you write out all the measurement parameters, so that with that, you know, you can't forget something. You follow that measurement and you'll be able to capture all your client's measurement. But peradventure, for any reason you forgot or you missed a particular measurement, I have some, formula to guide you to be able to get the measurements. And also, these ones you have taken, when you are not so very sure, you can use such calculations to confirm whether what you have gotten is correct or not. This particular one I'm talking about has to do with the bust, your bust point, your bust, under bust circumference, your under bust, your bust span, your bust radius, and all of that. So another measurement we can take is our under bust circumference. So this measurement is what we need when we are doing contouring, when we want to modify our basic bodies to a bustier. And this measurement has to be tightly taken around under the bust of your client. It has to be very, very tight, very firm. So that's your round under bust circumference. So having said that, we want to take our sleeve measurement. These measurements we are taking are for the major measurement for the bodies, the skirts, the gown, whatever. Now, if you want to take your sleeve measurement, you first of all take your biceps circumference. That is the fullest part of your arm. You take it like so. So for her is 12 inches. So this is also dependent on your client. Usually it's not too tight, but it depends on what your client wants. If they want it freer, you might need to make it freer, but normally you measure it a bit tight, just normal measurement, putting your one finger inside, so that when you want to draft your basic bodies, it will not give you issues. So you measure it like so, putting your one finger inside. So the next thing you will want to measure is you measure your elbow circumference. You tell the person to tilt her hand a bit, and you take this measurement around. This is to allow for folds. If you take the measurement very tight like this, just with her hand straight down, and you take the measurements like this, by the time she wants to, you see, it's pulling out because I'm holding it. So it's going to be tight. The customer is definitely, your client is definitely going to be complaining that the elbow circumference or the sleeve around the elbow here is too tight. So for you to avoid that, you tell your client to tilt her hand a bit and you take that measurement. So this is it. So this is it, like this. So that when she wants to tilt, you see that it's not going to affect it much. So you see it. So when she tilts, it will not affect it much. You also take your wrist circumference, and when you are taking your wrist circumference, you tell your client to place her hand like this. If you take this measurement tightly around this part, it will not work, except you are working on a very stretchy fabric, so that when she wants to pull it, it will be easy for her to pull it. But if you are not working with a stretchy fabric, you would want to take the wrist circumference around this part. You want to take it around this part. Tell your client to fold her hand like this, so that you take it around that part, and then it will be easy for the person to remove it from here. So don't take it here. See, if you take it here tightly, we are going to have, I have about 6.5 inches here. But if I take it around this part, I'm going to be having, at this point, I'm going to be having around 8.25. So pulling it out will be a bit easier. So it's not that you come and do it to be take measurement of this place the way it is. No, it's going to be too much, going to be too free. So just come up here a bit and take the measurement. Here is wider than here, so that when you want to pull, you just need a little, push, and it will come out. So for the vertical measurement, your sleeve length to elbow, you also measure it from your shoulder to this point. So you take it from your shoulder to this point like so. You take the sleeve full length. Normally you stop at this bone on the wrist. So for her, it's around 24 inches for her sleeve length. So it's around 24 inches. So those are the measurements that are required when we want to, take measurements before we start drafting. I hope you understood the measurements. Thank you for watching. I remain your humble tutor, Charity Easy.